Somehow, one fan managed to jam his finger into Chino's nose, causing him some fairly serious pain and provoking a nosebleed. When he made it back to the stage, Chino wiped the blood away with a towel and continued on with the song. Thankfully, there was no serious damage, and Chino thought the whole incident to be rather funny. Despite all the touring, Chino still found time to work on a solo project when the band was in America. Working with a DJ and 2 Sacramento guitarists, the project was called Team Sleep and had very little in common with the Deftones. When discussing the work, Chino compared it to Massive Attack or Jane's Addiction in their quieter moments, rather than the raging fury of his usual band. Fans and critics alike were surprised to hear that Team Sleep were influenced by British ambient groups. But Chino was philosophical, saying that it wasn't a commercial exercise, just something he was having fun with. Chino was given an extra opportunity to work on the project when the Deftones were forced to come off the road in June, after bassist Chi Cheng injured his foot. Extensive surgery was needed to reconstruct the bones in his big toe, which had been shattered in an offstage accident. Doctors ordered him to stay off the foot for 6 weeks, so the Deftones cancelled plans for the forthcoming dates. Thankfully, this coincided with news that Abe's wife Annalyn was pregnant with their first child. The couple had the opportunity to celebrate in their hometown with the whole band present. The only time the Deftones gathered together in the studio was to prepare a song for the Depeche Mode tribute album. The album, called For the Masses, featured cover versions from a wide variety of modern artists, including Monster Magnet, God Lives Underwater and The Cure. The Deftones recorded a version of To Have and To Hold, one of Chino's favourite Depeche Mode songs.
The cover itself, just the artwork of the pony, it's sort of a symbol, I think, of our individuality in a way. It was very plain. It's just a white pony, and it's just there, and it stands on its own. And I think that's sort of how I look at, our band.
Towards the end of 1998, the Deftones joined the Vans Warped Tour, an annual round-the-world trek featuring the top punk, hip-hop and alternative acts. Originally, it had been a small punk-only festival, but it had grown in popularity until it was one of the major package tours. The Deftones were one of the most popular acts on the bill, along with punk diehards Pennywise and Bad Religion. The first leg of the tour went well, after which the caravan took a break, allowing the bands to concentrate on their own tours before resuming the trek in spring. For the Deftones, this was an opportunity to tour as a support act, something that would be a very rare occurrence from now on. But this was a special occasion, for the band were to be playing with Black Sabbath, who had reunited on a permanent basis for the first time in nearly 20 years. Like most metal bands since the 70s, the Deftones were heavily influenced by the proto-metal sounds of Black Sabbath. They were very excited about the prospect of touring with their childhood heroes, especially with almost every metal band in the world competing for the privilege. Unfortunately, there was little cause for celebration. The first show in January went well with the Sabbath fans, many of whom already knew of the Deftones, responding well to the band. During the show, however, Chi Cheng began to experience pain in his left foot. By the end of Black Sabbath's set, he was in agony and was quickly taken to a doctor. The cause was found to be last year's injury. Although the surgery had been successful, the wound had recently become infected, causing Chi's foot to become sore and swollen. The necessary surgery was minor, but it would keep Chi off his feet for at least a month. The implications were serious. The Deftones would have to continue the tour without their usual bassist. Reluctantly, the band decided it was better to carry on rather than disappoint the fans. Sergio Vega, the bassist with Californian metal band Quicksand and a long-standing friend of the Deftones, was recruited to replace Chi for the duration of the Black Sabbath tour. Chi would join the others in time for the second leg of the Vans Warped Tour. After the tour, the Deftones returned to the studio to begin work on their third album. By this time, their profile had increased greatly, so media speculation about the next Deftones album was rife. Many critics suggested it would be their breakthrough album, the one that pushed them into the mainstream alongside the likes of Korn and Limp Bizkit. Unfortunately, it would be a long time before they were able to confirm their suspicions, for the album was not released for almost a year. It proved to be the longest and most painstaking session of the band's history, and one that would test the four friends to the limits of their endurance. Occasionally, word of the album's progress would leak out into the world. A source close to the band revealed that the new work would be called White Pony, and that Chino was changing his name to Pony One on the day of its release. The album was indeed called White Pony, but the name-changing suggestion was simply a joke to annoy gullible journalists. Other rumours hinted that the band would move into the same territory as Radiohead. This was simply sloppy journalism. Chino mentioned that he had recently been influenced by the sound of Paranoid Android, so it was inferred that the band would now sound like Radiohead. There was an official preview of the album in January of 2000. Stephen Carpenter shot 5 minutes of footage from the White Pony sessions, featuring snippets of songs that would appear on the forthcoming album. The promo film could be downloaded from the Deftones website, along with the titles of some of the new songs. Despite the band's best intentions, it would still be another 6 months before the album reached the shelves.
I would really, really love to do something with PJ Harvey. That's just me, though. I think they wouldn't mind, but I mean, I would love to do something. Just to sing with her would be like, that's all I mean, you know what I'm saying?
The Deftones' third album was finally released on the 20th of June 2000. It provoked immediate discussion, with the parties being divided into two camps. Those who hated the album and those who loved it. Thankfully, those who loved White Pony were in the majority. A large number of people were unimpressed with the change in the band's musical direction, even though they had clearly been heading that way since the first album. White Pony still featured bone-crunching riffs and phenomenal drumming, but they were complemented by some very un-metal moments. At times, Chino's voice began to sound like British singer Morrissey's, floating high and melodic over the razor-sharp guitars beneath. This was most evident on Street Carp, which opened with Chino's angry roar, before becoming one of the Deftones' heaviest songs. The first single, Change, in the House of Flies, was quickly picked up by MTV, who hoped it would improve on the standards set by 1997's My Own Summer, Shove It. The powerfully melodic chorus proved irresistible to the alternative radio stations, who quickly began calling White Pony the album of the year. Certainly it was the Deftones' best album so far, and it stood up respectably next to the latest efforts from contemporaries such as Korn and Pitch Shifter. The album's release was preceded by a series of live web broadcasts that saw the band performing a handful of songs from White Pony, as well as some older material. The shows lasted about 40 minutes each and could be seen on the band's website. An estimated 10,000 people tuned in to hear the first official performance of the new songs, and they received a favourable response. Sales of the album picked up quickly, selling consistently enough to suggest that White Pony would be in the album charts for several months. Shortly afterwards, the Deftones headed out onto the road for another marathon tour. Once again, they dictated the terms. They were offered the support slot with Limp Bizkit, but they preferred to headline their own tour. The early shows were a definite success, going some way to proving that recent criticisms of the band were unfounded. With a lengthy tour ahead of them, the Deftones were given the opportunity to show the world that they deserve to be counted amongst the finest of today's metal bands. And certainly they are one of the most original. After 10 long years, they are on the brink of the worldwide success that they deserve.
Thank you for buying Maximum Deftones. We hope you enjoyed it. Watch out for further titles on Chrome Dreams coming up soon. If you did enjoy or have any comments or suggestions, write to us at Chrome Dreams, PO Box 230, New Malden, Surrey, UK, KT3 6YY, or email on mail@chromedreams.co.uk. For more details on joining the Maximum Collectors Club and claiming your free CDs, check out our website at www.chromedreams.co.uk or look at the booklet inside this CD. Thanks again for listening, and goodbye for now.